Ladies and gentlemen, I let go and let God. These 5 words carry profound power, a message that calls for trust, surrender, and an unwavering belief in something greater than ourselves. Life, with its complexities and challenges, often pushes us to hold tightly to control. When we plan meticulously, we fight fiercely, and we strive endlessly to mold the outcomes of our lives. But the truth is, no matter how hard we try, some things remain beyond our grasp. It's in these moments, in the face of uncertainty and turmoil, that the call to let go and let God becomes not just a spiritual ideal, but a necessity. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is not giving up or resigning to defeat. Instead, it's an act of profound strength and wisdom. It's a recognition that our human limitations are real and that we cannot carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. By releasing our grip, we open ourselves to divine guidance, trusting that God's plans for us are far greater than what we could envision. We often cling to control because it feels safe. It gives us the illusion that we can avoid pain, hardship, or failure. But clinging too tightly can leave us trapped, weighed down by anxiety and fear. Letting go is freeing. It allows us to release the burden of trying to figure out every detail and to make sense of every moment. When we let go, we acknowledge that life doesn't always follow our script. We accept that the twists and turns, the unexpected detours, and even the struggles are part of a divine place. Letting go doesn't mean we stop working toward our goals or abandon our dreams. Rather, it means we stop fighting against the current. We do our best and we leave the rest to God, trusting His timing and wisdom. Letting God take the lead requires faith. Faith that even in the darkest times there is light ahead. Faith that when doors close, new ones will open. Faith that the challenges we face are not meant to destroy us, but to shape us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. Faith doesn't mean we will never experience doubt or fear. It means choosing to trust in God's purpose even when the path ahead is unclear. It means believing that His plans for us are good, even when our immediate circumstances suggest otherwise. Letting go and letting God is also about surrendering control over the things we cannot change. We cannot rewrite the past. We cannot dictate the actions of others. We cannot avoid every challenge or shield ourselves from every storm. But we can choose how we respond. We can choose to release bitterness, resentment, and regret. We can choose to forgive, to heal, and to move forward. Surrendering control doesn't mean being passive. It means shifting our focus from what we can't control to what we can control, that when we can, our actions and our trust in God. And the act of letting go often feels like a leap of faith, especially when we are in the midst of trials. It is difficult to trust when the ground feels shaky beneath us, when the answers we seek seem elusive, or when the future feels uncertain. And it is in these moments that letting go becomes most powerful. It is in these moments that we realize our greatest strength doesn't come from holding on, but from surrendering. When we let go, we make room for God to work in our lives in ways we can never imagine. We open ourselves to His grace, His peace, and His guidance. And in God take control doesn't mean our lives will suddenly become perfect or free of challenges. Faith doesn't eliminate struggles, it equips us to face them. It gives us the courage to keep going, even when the road is hard. It reminds us that we are never alone, that God walks with us through every valley and celebrates with us on every mountaintop. When we let God take the lead, we find strength, His presence, and peace in His promises. Letting go and letting God also means embracing patience. We live in a world that values instant results, quick fixes, and immediate gratification. But God's timing is not our timing. His ways are not our ways. Sometimes the answers we seek don't come right away. Sometimes the breakthroughs we long for require waiting. In these times, it's easy to become frustrated or discouraged. But patience teaches us to trust the process, to believe that God is working behind the scenes even when we can't see it. Patience allows us to grow, to learn, and to prepare for the blessings that are yet to come. Letting go can also mean letting go of our fears. Fear often keeps us stuck, holding tightly to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves us. Fear whispers lies that we're not good enough, that we'll fail, that we're alone. Fear loses its power when we trust in God. When we let go of fear and embrace faith, we step into a place of possibility. We begin to see challenges as opportunities and setbacks as stepping stones. We find the courage to dream big and to move forward even when the path is uncertain. When we let go and let God, we also discover the power of gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is present. It reminds us of the blessings in our lives, even in the midst of difficulties. And gratitude helps us to see God's hand at work, to recognize the gifts He has given us, and to trust that He will continue to provide. Gratitude allows us to approach life with the same celebration even in the face of challenges. I'm supposed to say, looking God is a journey. It's not something we do once and forget. It's a daily practice, a conscious choice to release control and place our trust in Him. Some days it will feel easier, other days it will be a struggle. But each time we choose to let go, we grow stronger in our faith and more aligned with God's will for our lives. It's important to remember that letting go doesn't mean letting go of hope. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a declaration of hope, a belief that God's plans for us are far greater than anything we could imagine. It's trusting that even when life feels messy, God is weaving it into a masterpiece. It's knowing that He is always working for our good, even when we can't see the full picture. I think going and letting God is a reminder that we are not alone in this journey. God is with us, guiding us, strengthening us, and carrying us when we feel weak. His love is constant. His grace is sufficient, and His plans are perfect. When we let go, we to work in and through the work. That's to transform our lives in ways that go beyond what we could ever achieve on our own. So today, let us take a deep breath and let go. Let us release our worries, our fears, and our need to control. Let us surrender our plans, our struggles, and our doubts to God. Let us trust that He is in control, that His timing is perfect, and that His love for us is endless. Let us open our hearts to His guidance, our minds to His wisdom, and our lives to His purpose. Let go and let God. In doing so, we find peace in the chaos, strength in the struggle, and hope in the unknown. We find the courage to keep going, the faith to keep believing, and the assurance that we are never alone. We find the freedom to live fully, to love deeply, and to trust completely. And we discover the incredible truth to me that when we let go and let God, He leads us to a life that is greater, richer, and more we could ever imagine. I think it was often misunderstood as weakness or a sign of giving up, but in reality, it requires immense inner strength. It takes courage to release the grip we have on situations, people, or outcomes, especially when we've invested significant time and we've into them. The natural instinct is to hold on tightly, believing that control equates to security. However, it is far harder and braver to admit when something is beyond our ability to manage and to choose to surrender to a higher power. The strength in letting go lies in the humility it requires. It's a recognition that we are not all powerful and that we as the battles are not ours to fight alone. It's a conscious decision to trust in God's wisdom, even when our instincts scream otherwise. And this act of surrender demands vulnerability, a willingness to open ourselves up to the unknown, and a faith that there is a greater purpose unfolding. Such a choice isn't made lightly. It's forged through introspection, resilience, and the ability to face our fears head on. And it also involves the resilience in the face of uncertainty. Often we cling to control because it provides a sense of predictability, even if it's an illusion. To let go means stepping into a space where outcomes are uncertain and trusting that we'll be okay regardless of what happens. This requires a strong spirit, one that can withstand the discomfort of not having all the answers while maintaining faith that everything will work out for the best. Ultimately, letting go is not about giving up, but about giving over to God, to life, or to the natural flow of events. It's an acknowledgement that our strength doesn't lie in controlling every detail, but in trusting that we'll have the wisdom, resources, and support to navigate whatever comes next. This is the paradox of letting go and surrender and control. We gain true freedom and discover a strength within us that no external force can provide. Letting go allows us to release the heavy burdens we often carry unnecessarily. These burdens can take many forms: worry about the future, regret over the past, or an obsessive need to control every detail of our lives. When we cling to these things, they weigh us down, robbing us of peace and joy. Holding on tightly to what we cannot change or control creates mental and emotional exhaustion, leaving little room for clarity or growth. Letting go is like setting down a heavy load. It lightens our spirit and opens space for healing and renewal. And many of the burdens we carry stem from fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. This fear drives us to cling to situations, people, or outcomes, believing that our efforts alone can ensure success or prevent disaster. However, this relentless grip often leads to anxiety and frustration when things don't go as planned. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring responsibility or giving up on goals. It means recognizing what is within our control and releasing what is not. A simple shift can free us from the pressure of trying to force outcomes and allow us to focus on what truly matters. Letting go also liberates us from the weight of past mistakes and regrets. Many of us replay old failures in our minds, wishing we could go back and change them. This cycle of self-blame and guilt can be overwhelming, hindering our ability to move forward. When we let go, we give ourselves permission to forgive both ourselves and others are fresh. We acknowledge that the past cannot be undone, but we can learn from it and grow. This act of release frees us from emotional stagnation, allowing us to embrace new opportunities with an open heart. Ultimately, letting go frees us to live more fully in the present. When we stop carrying unnecessary burdens, we create room for peace, joy, and creativity to flourish. We become more attuned to blessings around us and more receptive to God's guidance. By releasing what no longer serves us, we align ourselves with a life of purpose and freedom, unencumbered by the weight of things we were never meant to carry. Trusting God's greater plan means believing that there is a divine purpose behind everything that happens in our lives, even when we can't immediately see or understand it. Life is filled with moments of uncertainty, loss, and confusion. And during these times, it's time to question why things happen the way they do. Trusting in God's plan requires faith that, despite the challenges, there is a reason and a higher purpose behind every experience. It invites us to let go of our need for immediate answers and to lean on the belief that God is always working for our ultimate good. As trust does not mean that life will be free of pain or difficulty. Instead, it reminds us that every setback or hardship serves a greater purpose, even if it's unclear at the moment. When faced with closed doors or unexpected detours, trusting God's plan means choosing to see them as redirections rather than rejections. It involves believing that what is meant for us will come to pass, and that God's timing, though different from ours, is always perfect. This perspective shifts our focus from what we lack to the lessons we are learning and the growth we are experiencing. Trusting God's plan also requires humility. It's a recognition that we don't have all the answers and that our understanding of life's complexities is limited. When we trust in God's greater plan, we acknowledge that His perspective is far greater than ours. What may seem like a loss or failure in the moment could be a stepping stone to something far greater than we could imagine. This humility allows us to release control and stop resisting the flow of life, knowing that we are being guided towards something better, even if it's not immediately apparent. Ultimately, trusting God's plan brings peace. When we relinquish the need to control every detail and place our faith in His wisdom, we free ourselves from the stress and anxiety of trying to manage everything alone. Trusting in His plan allows us to rest in the assurance that we are never alone, and that every part of our journey, no matter how difficult, has meaning. His trust gives us hope in the face of uncertainty and confidence that we are being led toward a life that aligns with God's purpose for us. Faith is a powerful force that equips us to face life's troubles with resilience and hope. Life often brings unexpected challenges that can feel overwhelming, leaving us questioning our ability to endure. In these moments, faith serves as an anchor, in providing stability and assurance when everything else feels uncertain. It allows us to trust that there is a greater purpose behind our hardships and that we are never alone in facing them. And this trust gives us the strength to persevere even when the road ahead seems daunting. When difficulties arise, faith shifts our perspective, reminding us that struggles are not permanent. It helps us see beyond our immediate pain to the possibility of growth and transformation. Faith instills in us the belief that challenges are not meant to defeat us, but to strengthen us. Through faith, we learn to approach adversity with courage, understanding that every trial is an opportunity to develop character, patience, and wisdom. It equips us to confront life's difficulties with a sense of purpose, knowing that they are part of a greater plan for our lives. Faith also empowers us by connecting us to a source of strength beyond ourselves. In times of struggle, it's easy to feel isolated or powerless. Faith reminds us that we have access to divine support and guidance, giving us the courage to keep moving forward. It reassures us that we don't have to carry our burdens alone, and that God is walking with us through every challenge. This sense of divine partnership enables us to face even the most daunting obstacles with confidence and a renewed sense of hope. Ultimately, faith equips us to endure life's struggles by providing hope and clarity in the midst of uncertainty. It allows us to let go of fear and embrace trust, knowing that we are being guided and supported through every step of our journey. With faith, we can face difficulties not with despair, but with determination, believing that brighter days lie ahead. It transforms our struggles into stepping stones, leading us closer to the life we are meant to live and the person we are meant to become. Surrendering control brings peace by freeing us from the constant pressure to manage every detail of our lives. When we try to control everything, we often find ourselves consumed by worry and anxiety, fearing that if we don't hold everything together, it will all fall apart. This need for control creates a mental and emotional weight that can stumble. By surrendering control, we release ourselves from this self-imposed burden, allowing room for calm and clarity to take its place. Letting go of control doesn't mean neglecting responsibilities or abandoning our goals. Instead, it means accepting that some outcomes are beyond our ability to influence. This acceptance allows us to focus on what we can do while trusting that the rest will unfold as it should. It's a conscious choice to trust God's guidance and to believe that His plans are greater than anything we could orchestrate ourselves. This act of surrender shifts our perspective, replacing fear with faith and chaos with a sense of order that brings inner peace. Surrendering control also allows us to experience life more fully in the present moment. When we're fixated on controlling the future, obsessing over the past, we miss the beauty opportunities that exist right now. Letting go of control helps us to live with gratitude and awareness, appreciating the blessings we have instead of worrying about what might go wrong. This presence of mind brings a profound sense of contentment and peace as we trust that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Ultimately, the peace that comes from surrendering control is rooted in trust in God's wisdom and aiming and love for us. When we relinquish our need to dictate every aspect of our lives, we open ourselves to His greater plan. And this trust creates a deep sense of security, knowing that we are cared for and guided even when the path ahead is unclear. In surrendering control, we find the freedom to let go of stress and embrace the peace that comes from resting in God's care. God's time is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own expectations. In life, we often have plans and schedules we hope to follow, but things don't always unfold the way we anticipate. During these moments, it's easy to feel frustrated or feel disheartened, questioning why our efforts seem delayed or unrewarded. Trusting in God's timing means understanding that every event occurs for a reason and that His plans are unfolding exactly as they should. Even if we can't see the full picture yet, His timing ensures that everything happens at the right moment for our growth, well-being, and ultimate purpose. This trust requires patience, which can be one of the most challenging aspects of faith. Human nature often pushes us to seek immediate results and solutions. But God's time operates on a crapper scale, one that considers factors we may not even be aware of. Sometimes what seems like a delay is actually preparation for something greater. We may not be ready for what we're asking for, or circumstances may need to align in ways only God can orchestrate. In hindsight, we often realize that the delays we resented were in fact blessings, allowing us to grow stronger, wiser, and more prepared. When we embrace God's timing, we find peace in the waiting. Instead of striving or forcing outcomes, we learn to trust that everything is happening as it should. This trust doesn't eliminate challenges, but it reframes how we view them. It helps us to see closed doors not as failures, but as protection or redirection. God's timing teaches us to let go of impatience and to appreciate the journey, knowing every step is leading us towards something meaningful and purposeful. Ultimately, God's perfect timing reflects His love and wisdom. He knows our needs better than we do and understands what is truly best for us. Trusting in His timing allows us to release our anxieties and embrace life with a slight sense of faith and surrender. It reminds us that we don't have to rush or worry because everything will unfold at the exact moment it is meant to. This understanding brings a profound sense of peace as we learn to rest in the knowledge that we are guided by a hand far greater than our own. Letting go involves releasing fears that often keep us trapped in a cycle of worry and inaction. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and fear of loss can create a powerful grip on our minds, convincing us that holding on tightly is the only way to maintain control. However, this grasping often leads to more stress and anxiety. Letting go means confronting these fears and deciding that they no longer have the power to dictate our actions or limit our potential. It is an act of courage to release fear and trust in a greater plan. Fear thrives on uncertainty, feeding our need to anticipate and control outcomes. When we let go of this need, we acknowledge that uncertainty is a natural part of life and that we cannot predict or prevent every possible challenge. By releasing fear, we shift our focus from what might go wrong to what is possible. This shift opens us up to new opportunities and experiences that fear would otherwise prevent us from pursuing. Letting go allows us to replace fear with trust, creating space for growth and positive transformation. Releasing fear doesn't mean ignoring it or pretending it doesn't exist. Rather, it involves facing it with faith and confidence. Fear often grows in the absence of trust, but when we let go and trust in God's plan, fear begins to lose its hold on us. It's a process of surrendering our doubts and believing that no matter what happens, we will be guided and supported. This trust allows us to take risks, embrace change, and move forward even when the path is unclear. Ultimately, letting go of fear is about reclaiming freedom. Fear constrains us, keeping us stuck in a state of hesitation and worry, but letting go breaks these chains. It empowers us to live with greater peace and courage, knowing that we are not alone in our journey. When we release fear and trust in God's love and guidance, we find the strength to move beyond our limitations and embrace the fullness of life with open hearts and minds. Gratitude has the power to transform the way we view the world around us. When we focus on what we lack or the challenges we face, our mindset becomes clouded with negativity and discontent. However, when we shift our focus to the things we are grateful for, our entire perspective changes. Gratitude invites us to recognize the blessings, big and small, that already exist in our lives. By intentionally practicing gratitude, we open ourselves to a new way of seeing the world, one that highlights abundance rather than scarcity. This shift in perspective doesn't mean that we ignore the difficulties in our lives, but rather that we choose to see them through a different lens. When we cultivate a grateful heart, we start to realize that even in the midst of struggle, there are valuable lessons and opportunities for growth. Gratitude allows us to appreciate the strength we gain through adversity and the wisdom we acquire from challenges. It helps us to reframe obstacles not as insurmountable problems, but as stepping stones that contribute to our development. Gratitude also deepens our sense of connection to others and to God. It shifts our attention from what we don't have to the relationships and moments that enrich our lives. When we express gratitude for the people who support us, for the love we receive, and for the beauty and the strength in our bonds with those around us, gratitude opens our hearts, allowing us to be more compassionate, kind, and patient, not only with others, but with ourselves as well. Ultimately, gratitude empowers us to live more fully in the present moment. It encourages us to embrace what we have instead of constantly striving for what's next. This shift in focus brings a sense of peace and contentment as we stop comparing ourselves to others or longing for things beyond our reach. Gratitude allows us to experience life more deeply, appreciating the richness of each day and trusting that with a grateful heart, we're always exactly where we need to be. Letting go is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice that requires mindfulness and intentional effort. Every day we are faced with situations that challenge us to release control, surrender our fears, or forgive past hurts. Whether it's letting go of negative thoughts, letting go of expectations, or letting go of things that no longer serve us, it's an ongoing process that requires us to be conscious of our responses. Each day presents new opportunities to practice this act of release as we encounter moments of stress, frustration, or disappointment. Through consistent practice, we develop the ability to respond with calm and trust rather than resistance. This daily practice of letting go is not always easy. We are conditioned to hold on tightly to things, whether it's our ambitions, the opinions of others, or a desire to control outcomes. And these attachments can create anxiety and keep us stuck in the past or future, preventing us from living fully in the present. Letting go requires awareness of these attachments and the willingness to release them. It's a conscious choice to trust that surrendering does not equate to giving up, but rather to letting things unfold in their own time and way. The more we practice letting go, the easier it becomes to do so with grace. As we let go of worry, anger, or resentment, we create space for peace, joy, and clarity. This practice strengthens our ability to trust, not just in ourselves, but in the higher purpose that is guiding our lives. Letting go every day becomes a way of clearing out mental clutter, allowing us to focus on what truly matters and to embrace each moment with a lighter heart. It's a process of releasing what is unnecessary so that we can make room for the blessings and opportunities that are meant for us. Ultimately, letting go as a daily practice leads to freedom. It frees us from the burden of expectations, the weight of unprocessed emotions, and the need to control every aspect of our lives. By committing to this practice each day, we cultivate inner peace and resilience. We learn to accept life as it comes, knowing then that letting go is not an end, but a path to greater clarity, growth, and connection with God's plan for us. Through daily practice, we are empowered to live more fully and authentically, trusting that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Our hope is at the heart of letting go because it allows us to trust that things will work out, even when we can't see the full picture. When we let go of control or expectations, it's often a leap of faith. It's the belief that the future holds something better than what we're holding on to now. Without hope, letting go can feel like giving up or surrendering to defeat. Well, with hope, letting go becomes an act of trust, a decision to release what we can't control, and to believe that there is something greater at work, guiding us toward a better outcome. And hope provides the strength to relinquish our grip on the things that weigh us down, whether it's past hurts, fears, or unfulfilled desires. It gives us the courage to step into the unknown and to let go of the outcomes we've been trying so desperately to control. With hope, we can accept that the future is uncertain and that we don't have to have all the answers right now. Instead of clinging to what we know, hope encourages us to move forward with faith, knowing that the journey will unfold in its own time and that something good is ahead. When we let go with hope in our hearts, we are not leaving behind what matters us, but instead we are choosing to trust that what's meant for us will find its mind out. Our hope helps us release our attachment to specific outcomes or timelines and allows us to embrace the possibility of new opportunities. It's through hope that we find peace in uncertainty because we know that there is a purpose beyond what we can immediately understand. Letting go with hope means surrendering to a future we trust is in God's hands, knowing He has our best interests at heart. Our hope anchors us as we let go of the past and step in the unknown. It brings comfort and reassurance even in times of hardship or disappointment. When we have hope, we understand that letting go is not an ending, but a new beginning. Our hope allows us to release our fears and anxieties, trusting that what we let go of today is making space for something even greater in our future. With hope, we can face the uncertainty of letting go with peace, knowing that we are not letting go into emptiness, but into a future full of potential and promise. God's presence is constant and unchanging, even when we are unaware of it. In times of joy and sorrow, moments of peace and turmoil, God is always with us, guiding, comforting, and supporting us. This presence is not limited to specific places or times, but surrounds us in every moment. Whether we feel close to Him or distant, He is always near, ready to listen, guide, and offer His peace. His presence is a reminder that we are never truly alone, even in our darkest moments. His love is unwavering, and His guidance is ever present and available to us at all times. I know though it's easy to feel disconnected from God, especially during times of struggle or uncertainty, His presence remains constant. Often it is our own distractions or fears that cause us to feel distant from Him. But even in these times, He is with us, patiently waiting for us to turn our hearts toward Him. The more we seek Him, the more we become aware of His presence, realizing that He has never left our side. And this awareness brings peace as we recognize that we are walking through life with the Creator of the universe by our side. God's presence is also a source of strength and comfort. When we face challenges, we may not always have the answers, but knowing that God is with us provides a sense of reassurance. We can rely on His wisdom and trust Him and credit Him again, knowing that He sees the bigger picture and is working all things for our good. His presence offers the peace that surpasses understanding, calming our hearts and minds in the midst of life's uncertainties. In His presence, we find the courage to move forward and the strength to endure, knowing we do not walk alone. Ultimately, God's presence is a reminder of His love and care for us. He is always with us, and not as a distant observer, but as an active participant in our lives. His presence invites us to lean on Him, to trust in His plan, and to find comfort in the knowledge that we are never forsaken. And no matter where we are or what we face, God is always present, offering His peace, guidance, and unconditional love. Faith has the power to transform setbacks into stepping stones by shifting the way we view challenges. When faced with difficulties, it's easy to feel defeated, as if the setbacks are obstacles that block our path. However, with faith, we can see these challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. Instead of viewing setbacks as failures, faith allows us to view them as part of a greater journey. Every difficulty is an invitation to develop resilience, perseverance, and trust in God's timing. What might seem like a setback can become a necessary part of the process that ultimately leads us to where we are meant to be. Through faith, setbacks lose their power to discourage us. Instead of giving in to despair or frustration, we trust that these moments are not the end, but rather a detour that helps us grow stronger. Faith provides the perspective to see beyond the immediate struggle and to believe that there is purpose in every situation. It helps us understand that setbacks are often the stepping stones that lead us to greater opportunities and deeper wisdom. With this perspective, we no longer fear failure because we know that each challenge is a step forward, not a step back. And the faith also transforms setbacks by helping us develop patience and endurance. In times of difficulty, it can feel like progress is slow or that we're not moving forward at all. But faith encourages us to stay the course, to trust in the process, and to believe that God's plan is unfolding perfectly, even when it's not immediately clear. Through these trials, we build character and strength, which are necessary for the bigger things that God has prepared for us. These setbacks then become essential lessons, each one making us more prepared for what lies ahead. Ultimately, faith turns setbacks into stepping stones by providing us with the courage to keep moving forward. It reminds us that setbacks are temporary, but the growth we experience through them is lasting. With faith, we are empowered to see the value in every challenge, knowing that each one brings us closer to our purpose. What once seemed like an obstacle becomes a key part of the journey, helping to shape us into the person we need to become. Through faith, setbacks become not something to fear, but a necessary part of the path toward our greatest achievements. Letting go aligns us with God's will by helping us release our personal desires, fears, and expectations, and instead surrender to His greater plan. As human beings, we often find ourselves clinging to our own ambitions or struggling to control every aspect of our lives. However, this desire for control can lead us away from the path God has designed for us. When we let go, we make room for God to lead us in the direction He knows is best. It's a choice to trust that His will for our lives is far greater and more fulfilling than anything we could orchestrate on our own. By letting go, we allow ourselves to step out of the way and let God take the lead. It's not that we abandon our responsibilities or stop working toward our goals, but rather that we acknowledge that our plans and desires might not always align with God's perfect timing or purpose. And when we align ourselves with His will, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of His purpose for our lives. We become more attuned to His guidance and are more willing to follow where He leads, even when the path is unclear or different from what we imagined. Letting go also requires us to let go of our sense of self-reliance and recognize our dependence on God. It's easy to think that we have to make everything happen on our own, but in reality, it's God who equips us, strengthens us, and leads us toward the fulfillment of our true purpose. Surrendering control means acknowledging that we are not in charge, but that we are part of a much greater plan. By releasing our hold on our own minded perspective, we allow God to align us with His perfect will, which leads to greater peace and fulfillment. Ultimately, letting go aligns us with God's will by helping us embrace trust over fear and faith over doubt. It's a continual process of surrender, of choosing to trust that God's plan for our lives is not only good, it's the best plan we could ever hope for. When we let go, we invite God to take the reins and guide us toward a future full of purpose, joy, and peace. And the more we practice letting go, the more we align our hearts and lives with His will, experiencing His love and direction every second. Freedom and transformation await when we choose to let go of the things that bind us, whether it's fear, resentment, or control. These attachments often hold us back from becoming the people we are truly meant to be. When we release these burdens, we open the door to a life of greater peace, purpose, and possibility. Letting go frees us from the mental and emotional constraints that limit our potential, allowing us to step in a new chapter of growth and self-discovery. It's a journey of breaking free from old patterns and beliefs, and it paves the way for transformation to take place. As we let go of what no longer serves us, we create space for the transformation that God desires for our lives. Transformation is not just about external changes, but a deep internal shift. It's about renewing our minds, aligning our hearts with God's will, and embracing a higher purpose. This transformation can manifest in many ways: healing from past wounds, letting go of old habits, or embracing new opportunities. It's a process that takes time and courage, but it's one that leads us to a life filled with greater clarity, wisdom, and joy. When we let go, we allow ourselves to become the person God intended us to be. The freedom that comes with letting go is liberating in every sense of the word. It frees us from the burden of expectations, past hurts, and the need for control. Instead of living in a constant state of stress or anxiety, we can rest in the assurance that God is in control and that His plans are for our good. Freedom means no longer being trapped by the things that once held us back, but instead moving forward with confidence and trust. It means embracing life with open arms, knowing that we are not defined by our past or our circumstances, but by the loving grace of God. Ultimately, when we choose to let go, we invite transformation and freedom into our lives. It is a continual process of surrender, one that brings us closer to God and the person we are meant to become. As we let go of our own desires, fears, and limitations, we are free to experience life more fully, embracing new possibilities and trusting in God's plan. The freedom and transformation we seek are not found in holding on, but in the courage to release and allow God to lead us to the life He has always intended for us. In conclusion, act of letting go is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful step toward embracing the fullness of God's plan for our lives. It is an ongoing practice that requires faith, trust, and a willingness to surrender our control. By letting go, we align ourselves with God's will. And in doing so, we free ourselves from burdens, fears, and attachments that weigh us down. Through this release, we open the door to greater peace, transformation, and freedom, trusting that God's timing and purpose are always perfect. The challenges we face are not setbacks, but stepping stones that help us grow, become stronger, and move closer to the life we were meant to live. With hope in our hearts and faith guiding our steps, we learn that letting go is not about abandoning our dreams, but about trusting that God has something even better in store for us. When we surrender our desires to Him, We experience the true peace that comes from knowing we are exactly where we need to be, doing what we were created to do. And then goes the daily practice, a choice to trust in the process and to embrace the future with open arms. As we walk this journey, we remember that we are never alone. God is always with us, leading us, loving us, and transforming us into the people we are destined to become. So let go, trust in his plan, and step forward with confidence, knowing that freedom and transformation await. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect on the message of letting go and trusting in God's greater plan. I hope these words have inspired you to embrace faith, surrender, and the transformative power of letting go in your own life. Remember, each step forward, no matter how small, is part of a journey toward peace, growth, and fulfillment. And you continue to trust in the process and walk with confidence, knowing that God is always by your side. Goodbye for now, and may God bless you on your journey. Keep the faith and let go, for amazing things await you.